Good morning, and welcome to Judging by the Cover, the gaming review show where I rate games that I have not played and I score them based on how well the store page sells it. Since I have no formal journalistic credentials, I feel I am uniquely qualified to pass judgment on the hard work and dedication of other people. So, today, or this month rather, we are looking at games in bundles. And today we have something that's the original games have been out for a while. Oh gosh, like I think the first one came out a decade ago at this point. But we're looking at the Life is Strange Remastered Collection under the developer of Deck 9, published by Square Enix. Now, I took a brief look into the studios where it seems that Deck 9 is behind some of the remaster work and some of the later Life is Strange games, but Don't Nod Entertainment, the studio behind Tell Me Why, is responsible for the original Life is Strange game. Now, we will touch a little bit into the detail of the original Life is Strange because after looking at the remasters store information, I felt it relevant to go ahead and look at the original games just to see what, from a sales perspective, we're looking at on the game here. With that, we want to jump straight into our description for the games. We're going to go ahead and look at the two of them individually with Life is Strange and the Life is Strange Remastered. So let's go ahead and get started here. Life is Strange, or rather, the bundle. When you click in here, it gives you this drop down that lets you check out the bundle contents to see what all is available in the bundle. It says return to Arcadia Bay and experience two award winning Life is Strange games like never before. Remastered visuals and animation breathe new life into the great cast of characters and gripping stories. The Life is Strange Remastered collection includes Life is Strange Remastered and Life is Strange Before the Storm Remastered, which is a prequel game set with the same characters and including all of the episodes and everything that comes with it. Tells us that the remastered visuals across the characters and environments, vastly improved character animation using full facial mocap performance. So some little motion capture going on there. That's pretty cool. For the remastered only, I guess the original only used a standard base animation for it, which is absolutely fine. When you get the story, the mechanics, and the performance down, sometimes maybe not having hyper realistic graphics is perfectly acceptable in games. Uh, Updated and refined gameplay puzzles, engine and lighting upgrades, which the trailers for this one does show the lighting upgrade, like side by side comparison with a little sweep. Includes previously released deluxe content, the Chloe outfits and farewell bonus episode, which those are part of the Before the Storm collection. Which is nice that, there's I guess the farewell episode, it looked like it was a prequel to the prequel. So the fact that they included that in there, making it so that you get the full Arcadia Bay Chloe story with that is pretty helpful for this. It makes it feel more complete and inclusive of all the content that you would expect to get, so you don't miss out on anything. Choice and consequence driven stories with multiple endings, harness the power of Max's rewind ability, or Chloe's quick witted attitude to change the course of events, and distinct licensed soundtrack and original scores. Now, the soundtrack, I will say right here, we're going to briefly mention it later too. Beautiful soundtrack, one that I would 100% go ahead and just bring with me to work and listen in the background. Now, they do also outline the Life is Strange True Colors Ultimate Edition bundle here, which is a separate bundle. We're not going to get too much into that one. That one seems to include the Life is Strange True Colors and the Life is Strange Remastered. Oh, and it also includes the Before the Storm Remastered. So there's also that other third bundle here that includes the collection. But we're going to be looking at the batch without the true colors because we want to go ahead and focus on Max and Chloe for this one. Now, about the game, experience the BAFTA award winning story of Life is Strange, now beautifully remastered with enhanced visuals and vastly improved animation using mocap technology. Play as Max Caulfield, a photography senior who discovers she can rewind time while saving her best friend Chloe Price from a violent altercation. The pair soon find themselves investigating the mysterious disappearance of fellow student Rachel Amber, uncovering a dark side to life in Arcadia Bay. Meanwhile, Max must quickly learn that changing the past can sometimes lead to a devastating future. This that's the entire description that's given here, which quite frankly, it's short, it's to the point, and it's pretty sweet there. They don't go into too much here about the mechanics of it, but they do mention that the core mechanic revolves around the time rewind, along with the choice and the narrative driving the experience. So the description, very quick, to the point. I do appreciate that it's short. And when I looked at the original page for the Life is Strange, or for the Life is Strange one, it was similarly short. It tells us the award winning, all of that. Follow the story of Max Cofield, photography, it's all of that. Although it does go into a little more detail about the key features. A beautifully written modern adventure game. You rewind time to change the course of events, multiple endings depending on your choices, striking hand painted visuals, which maybe they dropped that one because they went and redid the graphics, and distinct licensed indie soundtrack. I feel like they could have included that one in the remake one as well. So that is at least the base game that we're looking at for the description. Now, the screenshots showcase a beautiful array of the graphics here. It looks very well rendered, maybe not entirely, like, not the whole hyper realistic aspect here. They do want to go ahead and let the colors pop and everything, but the characters are distinct. Their designs are spot on. Like, I believe these characters do exist in their setting. It's mostly just screenshots of the characters as they go through the game, but at the same time, the screenshots do not give away too much of the game. We see them during their investigative scenes, we see them in the middle of a storm, some of their emotional sequences. Some of them, it looks like some of them, maybe the characters look a little, I guess, tired. But then again, that may also be a part of the narrative, considering what these characters are coming from and what they're going through in the story. With that, we have the trailers for Life is Strange. Now, this is something that I have a little bit of a mixed feeling for. The Life is Strange remaster trailers are absolutely gorgeous. They get the point across. However, the base game has more trailers, like each chapter, because it was released originally across multiple chapters. Each chapter was given its own trailer to kind of entice people into that chapter. Of course, at the time of its initial release, when since the chapters were releasing separately, and you may have to possibly even buy the chapters separate from each other in order to get the full story as they released, um, it it just kind of slowed things along in that way. So of course you do want to put those trailers out, but I feel like they could have gone and included the a remastered set, or at least a little more showing the original, or showing the contents of the original trailers in these trailers. So the trailers do have a point of contention here for the remaster. The graphics and the graphics, sound, gameplay, everything looks spot on. We don't see a lot of the UI. Like, we don't see the UI or the menus shown in the trailers or the screenshots. But a game like this, I feel like they wouldn't want to spend too much time. Like, this isn't one of those huge RPGs full of stat screens and inventory management. It's more about the narrative itself. So the lack of menus and UI showing in here, that's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. Now, this has been just the Life is Strange remastered. We also have the Life is Strange Before the Storm remaster, where we want to go ahead and look at the description for that one. Now, the remaster collection, again, it's showing the same thing, but then we have the About This Game. Before the Storm returns with remastered visuals across characters and environments. Set 3 years before Life is Strange, you play a 16-year-old Chloe Price who forms an unlikely friendship with Rachel Amber, a beautiful and popular girl destined for success. When Rachel learns a secret about her family that threatens to destroy her world, it is her newfound friendship with Chloe that gives her the strength to carry on. No longer alone. The girls must confront each other's demons and together find a way to overcome them. Now, with this one, they definitely take a very minimalist approach to telling you about the game, which again, it can be a mixed bag. The store page for the original Before the Storm tells us it is the three-part standalone adventure 3 years before the game. Plus, there's a fourth prequel chapter to it that I believe is about Max and Chloe before they separated when Chloe had moved away. When Rachel, yeah, learns everything. But then it's the key features here that are the main difference that I think definitely should have been included in the description of the remaster. Tells us the consequence driven narrative adventure, multiple endings depending on choices you make. Backtalk, now this is the one that stuck out to me. Backtalk, a risk reward conversation mode that allows Chloe to use her barbed tongue to provoke or get her way. Now, obviously, since what was it? Max is the one with the rewind powers. She's not present in this game, and this game is taking place 3 years before she even knows she has those powers. So Max is removed from this. We don't have the rewind mechanic for this game. So what mechanic do they tout? The backtalk system, which, considering that our main character Chloe here is an absolute smartass, they lean into that heavily and make it a full-blown game mechanic. And that thing, they now there was the brief mention of it over here on the trailer that says, where was it? Secret Things Destroy the World. Okay. They don't even, it feels like it's not even mentioned here in the about the game. So that was something that kind of stuck out, and it's just that little bit of description threw me off that they wouldn't include that. Like, I had to go and look for the original game's separate store page to get this information. You can choose Chloe's outfit and see how people react to your look. That is something else that doesn't get explained in the remaster. I'm hoping that it is included in the remaster. Now, mind you, a little cosmetic outfit change is not a huge gameplay selling point, to at least to me, but the fact that they do have like an outfit pack, as from the original was the deluxe pack, but the deluxe is included in the remaster. If they leave that out from the remaster game, that's going to be a huge disappointment. Although I feel like because the remaster does include all of the deluxe pack content, it's probably going to be in there. Like, I am led to believe that based on the comparison and a distinct license indie soundtrack, just like the original, which makes sense. With that, we want to take a brief look here at Before the Storm's screenshots and trailers as well. Now, the screenshots, again, they are showing us screenshots from the game. We do see Chloe and Rachel instead of Max for this group across multiple points in the story, showing us at least snapshots of the game without really going into its mechanics or its details, or like they're not giving away too much of the story through the screenshots, which for a narrative driven game I feel like is preferable, because when you go into this you don't want to be spoiled for every single beat of the story. We do see that the setting, like there are some derelict and some rich locations here, but before we get into too much of that, there now, of course, the original store page. And for the record, I highly recommend checking out the original store page as well, on top of the remaster store page, if this is a game that looks like it interests you. Similarly, they do show you a bunch of story beats where they hint at a lot of things, maybe giving away a few more of the story beats, particularly with the trailers, but not so much that they're giving away the entire story. Now, with the trailers here, this is where I personally have a little bit of a problem for the Before the Storm in particular. The trailers chosen for the remaster, since the remaster collection gives you these two separate pages for Life is Strange and the Before the Storm, but they use the same trailers on both of them. That struck me as a problem. They didn't put in trailers for specifically the Before the Storm remastered, which is a game that you can look at separately. I don't know if the game is available separately, but the fact that they do have them with separate store pages instead of having a singular store page with everything, if they're just going to reuse the trailers, I feel like they should have just kept things on one page instead of, having the buyer going through two pages for two separate game remasters and then just giving them the same trailers. Now they do show some of the similar content, which that's neither here nor there. But then again, the other issue, if we go back to the Before the Storm store page, we do see again significantly more trailers. Each chapter has gotten its own trailer. They show story beats, characters having different designs at different points in their lives. Even the original chapter or the prequel chapter has its own trailer in there where you see Max and Chloe before they have to say goodbye. So that's kind of cool that they have those moments in the trailers, but it it just bothers me that they did not include any of that in the remaster's promotional material, which gets into the big contention that I have here for the remaster as far as the store page is concerned. It feels like the remastered store page is banking on you already knowing the original Life is Strange, that they are selling it specifically as an enhanced edition for people that would want to buy it already, as opposed to something that somebody just passing by would look at and be like, oh, that looks like an incredibly compelling story. Let me look into this further. Instead, a person going through and trying to figure out if they want to buy this, they might be put off by the lack of everything here. Like they show in the trailer this side by side comparison of old graphics and new graphics, and the shading, the lighting, and the design and the scenery does genuinely look better in the remaster. Like it looks like what I would expect a remaster to do. But that's all that they show with the remaster in comparison to the original, leaving out the story moments and the original chapter trailers that could have drawn people in. Now, if I had only been looking at this, the current sale price at 11.99, it's an incredible value. This is one that I am very likely to be picking up myself at that price. At the time of this video's release, it is on sale, but then 39.99 full price, or with the True Colors collection, 31.30 on sale for, and 150 $100 for the full package, full price. I don't know that I would spend 40 or $100 for either of these collections based on how much information they are giving me. Uh, just on the fact that they left out the trailers and the story beats that would have acted as a kind of synopsis from the original game store page. But again, the fact that those original game store pages do exist, they make it so that it's not completely disqualifying. It's a little bit of contention here, but those original game store pages are still up on Steam, and I highly recommend checking out those trailers, those screenshots, and even the little bit of additional information in the descriptions are much better. With that, we got to go ahead and get into our rating for this. Now, I'm going to end up giving this two separate ratings. One will be for the games themselves, where again, I know I'm looking at the original store pages here as well as the new editions. So the original games for Before the Storm, $17, and for Life is Strange, $20 for the original. So almost $40 for the collection or for everything together if you get the originals. But then the remaster, $40 full price on sale for an incredible value. but we are going to be basing a judgment on the full price as well. I feel like the very slight price increase, the $40 from the $37 price tag for the originals, extremely fair considering that it's mostly a graphical update, maybe a little bit of a puzzle update, like they say in the descriptions. But it's not so much that they are completely overcharging for, essentially a retextured remake. That can be a very contentious thing. Like there are a lot of games that I think I would have enjoyed, but that I skipped out on because they didn't really seem to add much to the experience. Uh, outside of being just a graphical update or style update. Like there, I know for Nintendo Switch there was a Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake that had that either a 40 or a $6 price tag, which since the Game Boy original still is entirely functional, entirely enjoyable in its own right, I don't think I would ever play that Switch or ever buy that Switch remake. Whereas this one, I feel like if I had bought and played the originals, I would never get the remaster just because it is that kind of game. Um, but for people that have never played it, the remaster, or for people that simply want that graphic update, it is an incredible value, especially at that sale price. The fact that they don't jack up the price on the remake, it's very close to the same price. I am going to say that this bundle gets, and I'm hesitant to take these points off, but I'm going to say a 7 out of 10 on the bundle for this remaster collection. And that is primarily because of the lack of carryover that we have from the originals. Now, the games themselves, based on the story and everything about them, at least in today's age. Now, at the time of release, I do remember when these games were coming out, there was the conversation around them. I was very put off by the chapter by chapter release structure because I wanted to know that if I'm buying a game that I'm getting the full game, that something's not going to go into hiatus. It's kind of how early access games, some people do have contention with early access games and how those games might not sit very well with people because if something happens with the studio or they suddenly decide to just quit production, then the early access game is never going to see its final version. Now, obviously, that did not happen here. The game ended up getting all of its chapters, got full release. It is the game has been recommended to me before from the same studio as Tell Me Why, which I've reviewed and I have played by this point, which I found to be an incredible experience of a game. With that, I'm going to say that the games themselves, at their core, an easy 9 out of 10. Going on the games being on sale, absolute 10. Because the value that you get for that full experience, it's basically like you get an an excellent novel that looks the art is gorgeous, the narrative looks incredible. I love that the characters have the kind of emotion put into their acting. The voiceover work and the music, the voiceovers, everything just seems so genuine and heartfelt in the performances and the rendering, especially in that remaster. It's just that for the bundled collection, because of that lack of extra information in the store page, the lack of the additional screenshots or trailers, I'm marking it down to a 7 rating for the store page, but the games themselves, I'm giving a solid 9. Now, that is, of course, my own personal thoughts. Again, I think it's an incredible value. This is at this kind of a sale price, it's one that I would very much go to. I did enjoy Tell Me Why. So after having enjoyed that experience, I feel like this is something that I would go for and maybe play through at at least a couple of times just to try and find out if I can get the multiple different endings. Of course, hopefully without looking through a guide to figure out for the guide to tell me how to get certain endings, because a game like this seems like the kind of thing that you really want to experience the narrative of on your own, because if you're reading a guide, then you might as well just be reading a book that is just the game's story in the book. this kind of thing being an experience that I can go ahead and try and get those different endings. Just it seems like a good value for that $12 sale price, even at a full $40. They do a good job of presenting their music, their graphics, and the emotion behind it. It's just, I wish they had a little more touching into the individual chapters. But for anybody that is on the fence, again, I highly recommend going and even on the store page, there is a link right here telling you check out the entire Life is Strange collection on Steam, where it'll show you all of the remasters and the originals for all of the games in the series so that it does make them easy to find so that you can get that information without having to hunt and dig around too deep. So, like I said, that's my stance. It's my personal position on it. Um, the graphics sound and now they really don't show much of the gameplay, like as far as how the controls work in here. But being a narrative-driven game, it's going to be a lot of cinematic story beats, especially since I have played Tell Me Why at this point. I don't blame them for maybe not showcasing all of the complex controller inputs because, quite frankly, there probably won't be that many. Um, the pricing is fair at full price and incredible on sale. So again, the bundle store page 7 out of 10, the games themselves 9 out of 10. For anybody that enjoys these kinds of narrative games, this would probably be an instant purchase at the current sale price. For people that maybe need a little more action in their games, this might not be the thing for you, but if you like character driven stories, this is the kind of storytelling that these cinematic story driven narrative games have been building up for the last decade plus. There have been a lot of amazing stories that have been told through this medium that I think are entirely worth it for people artistically expressing themselves in this manner. Uh, Now, remember, the views expressed here are purely opinions. This is basically my whole little opinion piece on it. We all have different tastes when it comes to entertainment media, and anybody with different opinions or respectful criticism, by all means, let me know in the comments what you think, as well as, leave some recommendations for games that you think we should look at in the future. I do have another game already picked out for. Or another bundle picked out for this month. But come December, we are going to be looking at other categories of games and hopefully we can see some really cool stuff out there.